you're going to start off with hard questions like that, huh?
My values affect my voting. They're the primary consideration when I vote.
This is the way that I try to transfer my values from what's inside of me to outside of me, to the general public. So, or from the general public, actually, was what I want from the general public back for me. So, my values are reflected in the way that I vote directly.
My values affect me in the voting booth very much.
My values affect me in the voting booth because they affect how I live every day, and how I vote is going to affect how I live every day. Boy, there's so many, and they are so intertwined.
Well, the value, your basic values of, family and integrity, trust, are, probably, your core values, and then everybody has their own values after that.
Honesty and somebody who's trustworthy and responsible.
Or integrity, fairness.
Honest, people.
Being honest. It's, there's nobody's perfect, and someone trying to cover something up that they've done that in their past is that really puts a big mark against a candidate too. Being honest is a real big thing. If you can't trust them, then why should you vote for them?
It's my family, it says my freedoms and my rights.
Number one, our freedom, because I've been in Eastern Bloc countries when it wasn't free, and when I was a teenager, and it's a frightening thing, particularly looking at places like the Berlin Wall. And it's, I value our freedom.
Number one in my life, it's the image that America is portraying overseas.
I guess the hot buttons for me are abortion, I guess same-sex marriage.
Particularly the environment.
Environmental concerns. There's a lot of it that's involved in there. But it's so that we can all live in a good place.
Another thing is our energy problems. I do believe that we're not looking forward to what the next generations are going to use to continue to drive our economies.
I believe we need to have alternate sources of fuel. I believe also that they have to try and figure out how they're wasting our money into Washington. And with the school systems, the same way. They're wasting our dollars. And I feel it's very important they need to have a cleanup.
Well, I'm very concerned about world peace, and I'm very concerned about issues of justice in our society.
My priority is peace. I mean, having lived through World War II, I don't want to see that again. And consequently, that's value number one. I don't mean peace at any price, but I mean peace, somehow with justice.
We all want a place that we can be proud of to live in, and we don't want to have to be ashamed of, the neighborhood or what we're doing.
Well, I believe everybody should be included, and I don't believe in discrimination.
Like right now, I'm in the union.
Thinking about what things are most important to me right now as far as protecting my children or protecting my home, my home life and the security that we have here.
It depends on what the issues are.
I just always go for what's best.
It's the old story my dad always used to say, safety first. Anything that impacts me or my family, that's a concern. And of course then it spreads to the concern for others as well.
I place my spiritual values first, I place my family second, and then I look at the issues of the day and I place those third.
People are very important to me. As you pass through this life, you have three things you have to think about. And that's how you treat people through this life, your family, and your friends. And that affects a lot of things that I vote for.
Unfortunately, feelings come into it a lot.
Or the things that are directly going to affect their lives.
Because it's really how your gut feel is about a lot of things. You feel it's right or it's wrong.
And listen to what people actually say and what people actually are looking for and wanting. Not what maybe someone is paying them to do.
I think it changes throughout your life depending on where you are in your now I'm moving towards the world, towards retirement. Certain things become less important than maybe were earlier in my life.
I tend to go with more of a conservative view. Well, I've got a family. I have 2 young children, so I definitely want to start thinking about their future. You know, in the past, a couple years ago, I started voting for myself, thinking, you know, when I was younger and single and unattached, I voted that way. And now that I've acquired a family, a wife, and 2 children, I think my voting stance has definitely changed. My values have changed accordingly. Now it looks like my stance is being taken away from I don't want to pay taxes to now I'm feeling a little more open to pay taxes because my value structure wants to improve the immediate community. So,
you know, it's funny, through my life, my values have changed, and as I've grown, my values have come from being maybe more self-oriented. Therefore, I voted for things and people that would maybe bring me more personal gain. But as I've developed personally, my values have changed to be more externally oriented. So I'm looking more for things that will help myself and, boy, the people and society around me at the same time. So as my values change, my voting changes.
I think about society, I think about the good of the country, and then I think about myself.
yeah, there's definitely some spirituality there. I mean, I don't frequent church all the time, but I go on special occasions, and I do my own, I have my own spiritual agenda, I guess. Does my spirituality affect my values and priorities as far as voting? Yes. No, I definitely believe there's some separation between religion and politics, and as far as the community is concerned, I believe there's a religious community. There's also your local community, which is, you know, politically oriented, where your values are such that I don't necessarily like the two combined. I believe there should be some separation of church and state.
I would describe myself as kind of a spiritual person. The spiritual part is all part of me, along with looking at how it affects our environment, our living conditions, the whole works. It's all, we got to put everything all together and on how I'm voting.
Yeah, I'm religious, but you know, I don't spend a lot of time in church, but I was raised to believe in God, and so, you know, underneath of all that, I believe there's a supreme being. Yeah, the question is, does my religious values affect my voting? And I would say yes. I don't want to vote for somebody that I think is evil, or, you know, that's opposed to my own religion.
I would say non-religious. I am not a religious person. In fact, I do not belong to any particular religious organization. A good portion is based on my own moral thoughts on how things should be.
If it were to be religious versus spiritual, I would be definitely spiritual. Values, worldview, religion, politics are fully integrated and only seem to manifest themselves, or often seem to manifest themselves in places like the voting booth.
My religion, I'm Catholic, and I portray as a Catholic, and I act as a Catholic, and my values and morals are as a Catholic, but it doesn't influence and it doesn't partake in what I do every day. I'm very open-minded, and although I am Catholic, it doesn't sway me to not persist in what I want to do or opinion on who I want. I don't partake my religion and put it on anybody, because everybody's values are different.
We are members of a church and we attend regularly. Well, I consider teachings of the religious faith to which I belong, and I use that as a basis for deciding the priorities.
I would consider myself to be a religious person. Says I strongly believe in the Bible, and says I use that the best I can, says, to guide my life. Says I would believe that, says, my religious stance, says, affects my voting, says, in an extreme manner. Says as a true Christian, says, following, says, what the Bible says. Says we try to stay out of political, says, things inside this governmental system. So, says, a lot of times, says, you wouldn't find me voting.
I guess religious. It's mainly either moral issues or ethical issues. You know, if somebody's for abortion, then I have a hard time with that.
I do consider myself a religious, spiritual person. I definitely think about that every day when I'm just out in the world, that it's important to treat everyone nice and do as many kind things as you can. I don't know that they would necessarily persuade my political views, but I think those should be separate. But I do think that, you know, of course, some of your beliefs come into your values, and that's important.
I would say I'm religious. Morality based on basic human values, belief in the Ten Commandments, for example, as a basis for values. Belief in the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Well, I think that it's sad that in our society, religion sometimes divides us rather than unites us. All religions, seem to me, have common goals, and we should have an attitude of trying to find out what's best for our country and for our society.
Well, I think actually if people would consult their basic values more, we might have better people in office.
Well, I just think people need to consider the issues. I think they need to look at it from the standpoint of their values, but not just for themselves, but to look at everyone. And also in voting, how is this going to how's it going to imply this is going to happen in the future or this is not going to happen? Not just, I'd say impulse voting. Really examine the issues before you vote. Don't just jump into it and go, oh, well, this, and not think about the impact that it has on a lot of other people.
I guess that's about